Welcome to LexLocal. I'm your host, Rick Dorrington. We start today with Lexington's search for a new town manager. Last night, the Select Board voted to offer the position to Steve Bartha. Bartha is currently the manager in the town of Danvers, and he has been in the position since 2014. In his application, Bartha said his management style is best described as relationships and results. Now, Bartha was one of 3 finalists whose in-depth interviews were held in public in late August. The interviews, including Bartha's, can be seen on the LexMedia TV's YouTube page and on the on-demand player of lexmedia.org. The town will now begin contract negotiations. Jim Malloy, the current town manager, announced his retirement in May, and his last day on the job is set for September 30th. Malloy took the job over as town manager in 2018 and immediately got to work. He introduced many new town staff positions and led the community through the construction of a new fire and police station. He also established the Capital Stabilization Fund to help offset the cost of a new high school. Jim Shaw, the publisher of the Lexington Times Magazine and LexMedia board chairman, sat down with Malloy to talk about his long career of public service, his impact on Lexington, and what he plans to do with all that free time.
I want to welcome you today and thank you for taking the time. I know that the time is short because you're here for less than 30 days and then it's all over.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about when you arrived.
So I am wrapping up 37 years as a local government manager. And when I worked in Colorado as a county manager, and I had made a decision that I wanted to go into municipal government and out of county government. And my wife and I sat down and we made a list of states that we would live in and that we didn't want to live in. But I ended up in upstate New York. And I was there for a couple of years. Went through a period of time there where the majority of my board was actually removed for corruption.
Oh.
And the mayor got voted back into office and told me as soon as he had 3 votes, I was fired.
Oh.
And so...
So much for good government.
Yeah. Oh, it was definitely not good government there. There was actually a saying there that there were 2 ways out of government in Sullivan County, New York. One was to get fired. The other was to be indicted. And so a lot of times I've said I took the high road and I got fired.
And one of the things I think that you brought here was transparency. And I think that's an important part of local government.
I think that probably goes to the fact that this is all I've done my entire life.
Right.
I was 25 when I was first named a manager, and I've lived in a fishbowl basically my entire adult life as far as my career goes. And so I have no problem with having, a transparent local form of government. When you talk about your state or your federal government, you just don't get that. But local government is very close to people.
I do remember because I know we publicized it in our publication, the coffee with the town manager at the community center. So you would actually make yourself available to people who wanted to come in and just chat about local government or whatever really is on their mind.
Yeah. Java with Jim. That's what we called it. Yes, that's what we called it.
Exactly. When you came here, we were sort of in the process of the fire station and talking about the police station.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
We hadn't quite started the fire station yet. It started after I did. Okay. I remember the old fire station.
Right. Okay.
And it needed to be replaced. In the 6 years I've been here, we've done 6 buildings. Wow. And so we've had 1 in the planning process and 1 in the design process and 1 in construction the entire time I've been here. And they're all buildings that the community should be proud of. Compared to what was here beforehand, our police station and fire station are both state-of-the-art. Hastings and LCP are both state-of-the-art buildings. The visitor center is a beautiful building right on the battle green. Right. And then we've got the smallest of our buildings that we've done is the cemetery building.
One of the legacies, I think, that you'll leave behind. You brought some good people in and up.
We actually have added 3 different staff components here, actually, and we put them in the town manager's office so that they were elevated to a level in the organization that their importance was recognized. And so we've added the sustainability and resilience officer, a chief equity officer to work on DEI initiatives. And we've also got a communications director, which we didn't have back in 2018. And in all 3 of those positions, we have had excellent people working in them. The staff here in Lexington has been second to none of any of those that I've worked with in the past. Yes, our staff here is something that the community should be grateful for and proud of.
One of the projects that you helped initiate and start is the construction of a new high school. It's going to be the single largest, project in Lexington's history up until now.
Yeah.
One of the things that concerns people most is the cost.
What we did is we first started talking about doing some rezoning over on Hartwell. That did go through town meeting. And what we did is we said, let's take the net increase in property taxes for any property that was part of that rezoning or any new PSDUP projects. And the increase in property taxes we put permanently aside into a capital stabilization fund. So we called this the capital stabilization framework. And that amount will then go directly to offsetting the debt service cost on an annual basis on the high school. So right now, we're approximately about 25% of the high school costs, the debt service costs being covered. We have 2 other projects that have been fully approved, but the property owners have just put them on hold for right now. But those will also contribute to it, and that'll bring it to about 45 to 50% of the high school costs being covered. And so it is getting to the point where, a couple more developments and the town will have a large portion of that high school project taken care of. And we won't see the debt on that until about 2030.
I know that you've got some plans, for some time in your retirement.
Yeah.
So, share with us a little bit about, I'm sure it's sort of what they call bittersweet. You're not only are you leaving Lexington, but you're sort of calling it a
career.
Calling it a career.
Yeah. So I would say that Lexington has been one of the most challenging, but also one of the most rewarding communities that I've worked for, which I think makes it that much better to be the one that I'm retiring from, because it'll sort of is a high point of my career. I plan on spending some time on my bike, doing some
passion projects.
Yes, and then also
the way you talk about spending some time on your bike, that's a true passion project because you're talking about going cross country.
Yes, yeah,
right, solo and
I'm planning a cross country ride.
There's so much more we could talk about. We could go on for a long time. But what I really do want to say, and I speak for myself, and I know I speak for many, many people in this community, the effect that you've had, the impact that you've had has been nothing short of extraordinary.
Well, thank you.
You've led us through some very difficult and challenging times. I think you made local government fun again. I wish you and your family all the best as you go forward.
Appreciate that.
And we hope that you will not be a stranger.
Thanks.
All right?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it.
The entire interview with Jim Malloy will be in the September issue of the Lexington Times Magazine and will be available on our website and YouTube channel. We got more insights on future planning for Lexington when town officers gave updates on their projects at a forum sponsored by the Middlesex 3 titled M3, What's Happening in Lexington. Here are the highlights.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Lexington. Those of you who follow Lexington or don't know a lot about Lexington are going to learn a lot today.
So one of the big things the town is obviously working on right now is the executive recruitment firm that is seeking my replacement. But one of the things that the town has done over the past 4 or 5 years, but spent about 15 years in the planning, was redoing the center of town. And so if you've gone through the center of Lexington in the last several years, you would have noticed that we tore up all of the sidewalks, all of the curbing, the street, all new lighting, all new seating. And the result that we've seen is that as some of the vacant storefronts that became vacant during the pandemic, the types of businesses that have actually located in the center of town are slightly upgraded businesses than what we had there before. Lexington is in the design phase right now of building the largest, most expensive high school in the state's history. We're looking right now, the estimates are somewhere between $600 and $700 million. And a lot of that is because we're planning out several years. We're planning on making a big investment up front in the sustainability of this school to make it a net zero building, which will have a long-term positive benefit to the town as far as our operational costs. But up front, there's a larger capital costs, and a lot of that is not paid for by the state. And what we're doing is all of the new net tax revenues generated by any of our PSDUP developments or any of the rezoned parcels on Hartwell Avenue, that net new property taxes are going into a capital stabilization fund. And we have about 3 or 4 other projects that have been fully approved, both by town meeting as a PSDUP or in the Hartwell area, that have gone through all of the permitting stages. If those projects do go forward in the next 4 or 5 years, we'll actually be in the area of 50 to 60% of the high school cost actually being covered.
The biggest next thing happening in Lexington, if that was not enough, is the 250th. We are coming up with the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington. Concord, Arlington, Lincoln, and Lexington joined forces, I would say 2 years back, and we started doing this as a intermunicipal, celebratory thing rather than doing it in silos. We are hosting a huge event throughout that weekend.
We have been fortunate to have received $100,000 in American Rescue Plan Act funding from our select board and town manager's office to promote projects along the Minuteman bike path, namely businesses, the exterior facades, and area activations. We can put in park benches, we can put in bike racks, we can do murals, we can put in lights. My personal favorite is looking how alleyways can be transformed with canopies of umbrellas, lights, anything you can imagine. East Lexington was hit harder during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are hoping that with the addition of murals, as well as reimagining the parking lots and space behind these buildings, it will attract more bikeway users. And we're also thinking of expanding the scope to Lexington Center as well. Namely, for those who know, the Depot lot and the CVS parking lot.
Over the last couple of years, Lexington has had several major housing-related zoning and policy regulation changes. I'd say it started with in 22, the planning board adopted a new comprehensive plan that had a heavy focus and strong goals related to housing and economic development. So at that town meeting, adopted and created a new affordable housing trust, which essentially is a bank that provides funding and resources for the creation and preservation of affordable housing in Lexington. And then last year in spring 23, there were 2 major zoning amendments that were adopted at town meeting to comply with the MBTA communities law to allow more housing through a by right approval process, so non-discretionary.
So the project I'm talking about today is a network geothermal feasibility project, which is a kind of new innovative technology that will help buildings transition away from fossil fuels. So when we're talking about network geothermal, that's bringing these ground source heat pumps in connection with each other across multiple buildings. So there's a ground source heat pump in each building. There's some piping in the street and these boreholes that go down to take advantage of this standard temperature of the ground. And essentially, because you're able to then share that heat across multiple buildings, it's more efficient than just a single ground source heat pump. And not only do you have that sharing benefit, but you also have long-term storage. So in the summer, you can bring heat down into the ground and store that for many months, and then in winter bring that heat back up to heat your buildings.
The post-pandemic focus for our programs has been on workforce development. We work with students who are 18 years of age and older, and we work with a lot of adult students who have gone to college, have tried college, have finished college, who are career changers. And in January of 2025, we're going to launch a new program in groundskeeping and maintenance. Basically what I'm saying to you today, any workforce development need that you have for any of the industries that you talked about today, the bakeries, the housing, the life science programs, this district can provide you with.
As has been reported, the bodies of 6 more hostages held by Hamas were recovered in Gaza over the past weekend. The recovery of these bodies is a somber development in an already devastating situation. Here in Lexington, residents have been participating in a Free the Hostages march every Sunday since last October, calling for the safe return of all remaining hostages held by Hamas. Take a look.
Yeah, we're marching here for the hostages that are kept in Gaza by Hamas, a terror group that on October 7th barged into Israel, slaughtered over 1,200 people, civilians and soldiers, and then took captive almost 250 hostages, with 128 kids, women, men, elderly, still remaining in Gaza, some unaccounted for. And we're marching here to remind Lexington, the world, that this is an ongoing situation and we need to fight for the release of the hostages.
Every Sunday since October 7th, we're here. We want people to know why this war was started. There are still 128 hostages from multiple countries around the world, at least 6 Americans who are trapped in Gaza. We want to keep these hostages in the public consciousness, in view of people who aren't thinking about this every day like we are thinking about this every day, wanting our families and our friends to come home. I would want people to know we should all agree, all decent people should agree on 4 things. First, October 7th was a terrorist attack. It's indefensible. Second, Israel has a right to exist. Third, Palestine has a right to exist. And fourth, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is a tragedy. And focusing on only the last 2 things without loudly and clearly and just as passionately affirming the first 2 things is anti-Semitic. Israel is by far the most progressive, most liberal country in the Middle East. It's the only country in the Middle East with gay rights, with freedom of religion. These are common values that we should all share and that we should all stand up for.
I would just add that the hostages are not prisoners of war. These are civilians. They were going about their business at 6:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning on a Jewish holiday, and they got snatched out of their beds or out of their morning run or biking in the morning. And these are plain civilians. This is not about some military tactic that one side holds POWs of the other. And to the world, it's important to know that if this isn't proof that this is a terrorist organization versus, as some people choose to call them, militants, then I don't know what really is.
I would say that our mission here every week is to remind the public. As we know, there are a lot of incidents of anti-Semitism, incidents of campus protests, where people forget the true narrative, what actually has been happening since October 7th. And our goal here is to keep reminding everyone that there are hostages here and keep the public opinion honest about what is going on. And I would say that is our mission.
1, 2, 3.
Run for their lives. Bring them home now. Greater Boston, Massachusetts.
Protesters in support of Palestine have also been demonstrating every week in Lexington, calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Things got heated at a recent demonstration when they were confronted by counter-protesters, many of them who were from out of town.
Hello, my name is Huda. I am a member from Lexington For Palestine, and we have weekly standouts every Thursdays to stand for peace and in solidarity with the Palestinian people, especially those in Gaza. Our group consists of various backgrounds, religions, race, and we come in unity for peace in Lexington and everywhere. Last week, which is the first time ever, we've been doing this for 6 months now, we have been bombarded by an opposition group. And unfortunately, there were children around, and vulgar slurs were said, and causing fear among the children. We had to have the children leave their usual peaceful standout, and so they were thrown off their routine. We remained because we have rights, and we do have a mission that we follow, and that is to stand for free Palestine and to spread peace among the community here. I want to mention that our group is focused on everybody and everybody's rights, everyone's equality. We want people to understand that we also want the hostages free. There's no one-sided, we are in this together. We want peace on both sides. So we ask that whoever comes to our standouts, that we request peace.
My name is Howie Feinstein. I live around the corner. I walk by here, I see pro-Palestinian groups, I see pro-Israeli groups. I've come here to support the pro-Israeli groups. I feel sorry for the Palestinian people, but they've been indoctrinated in their schools, in the UN schools, the UNRWA schools. It's hard to judge morality when you see Palestinian mothers crying for their children being pulled out of the rubble. It's easy to say ceasefire. Both sides should just cease fire, of course. But the situation compels us, if we're thinking people and we're educated people, to think a little bit more deeply and to come to a little bit more comprehensive advice.
Labor Day marked the return of General, excuse my French, Gilbert du Motier, Marquis de Lafayette, a hero of the French Revolution who also became a hero of the American Revolution. Inspired by the American fight for independence, he set sail to America from France to join the cause. He served in the Continental Army during the Siege of Yorktown in 1781, which turned out to be the final major battle of the war. Afterwards, in 1824, Lafayette has the opportunity to tour the United States, which led him here, to Lexington. The Lexington Historical Society produced a reenactment to mark the occasion. Take a look.
History came alive this past weekend in Lexington, where the town commemorated the 200th anniversary of General Marquis de Lafayette's visit in 1824. Residents and visitors gathered to witness a reenactment that brought the past back to life.
Greetings, friends. I'm Craig Sandler, president of the Lexington Historical Society, and on behalf of the Society and our community partners, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this reenactment of Lafayette's 1824 visit to Lexington exactly 200 years ago today.
So therefore, these events that we've been participating in are an important part of our educational mission. And I congratulate Lexington for the job it's done today, and I hope to see you again on many other occasions. Vive Lafayette!
The event drew a large crowd, including town officials and State Representative Michelle Ciccolo, all here to honor the legacy of a man who played a crucial role in America's fight for independence.
Today we're celebrating a reunion of sorts. 50 years when all the fighting was over, when General Lafayette came back to the newly formed United States to celebrate with former friends and allies. Lafayette was nicknamed the hero of two worlds. He was buried in France in dirt taken from Bunker Hill here in Massachusetts in accordance with his request to be buried on both American and French soil. 250 years later, the U.S. is still far from a perfect society, but we understand, and especially here in Lexington, the birthplace of that union where the first battle broke out. We forge forward always to build a more perfect community where everyone is welcome and all are free. Thank you.
Let us continue to carry forward the same sense of honor and responsibility that the people of 1824 felt when they welcomed Lafayette. Let us continue to build a future worthy of the sacrifices that were made on this ground. Thank you all for being part of this day. May it inspire us all to not only remember, but actively carry forward the legacy of Lafayette.
The reenactment showcased General Lafayette's meeting with key figures from Lexington's past, including soldiers and prominent townspeople from the Revolutionary era.
My father carried this on April 19th, 1775.
Actors in period costumes portrayed these historic figures, offering the crowd a glimpse into what life was like when Lafayette visited in 1824.
It is with great joy and happiness that I receive the welcome of the town of Lexington. It brings me great joy to come to scenes of events so memorable as that occurred on this very spot. For it was here that was fired the first shot that would become the signal for American and universal freedom. Monsieur, I ask that you accept, and all of you who press around us with such warmth and enthusiasm, to accept the most sincere expressions of my gratitude, affection, and respect. Je vous remercie beaucoup.
Monsieur.
Merci à vous tous. Merci. Merci à Lexington.
Lafayette's visit was a momentous occasion for Lexington, and today's reenactment served as a reminder of the connection between our past and present. The event concluded with a symbolic march across the green, paying homage to the journey of liberty that began right here.
Lexington Community Farm, or LexFarm, has been operating as a nonprofit since 2014. We wanted to take a closer look at what they have been growing and see how they operate as a community farm and what they provide to the town. Take a look.
At this farm, we offer, of course, we grow our own vegetables. We have a paid farm crew who farms the 7 acres of land that we have here. Our educational program is run by our director, and she has an entire rich program running year-round for children ages 8 months to grade 4. And our programs are focused on engaging children in nature, in the environment, and helping them understand where their food comes from, and really just to generate a wonder of nature. We are so lucky to have animals as part of the farm experience at LexFarm. The animals belong actually to a neighboring farm, Silk Fields, that is privately owned. However, the owner there has been very, very generous in giving us access to their animals, which include alpacas, a very popular attraction, and we have been able to integrate them fully into our educational program. Lastly, we have a volunteer program that is one of our most favorite programs that brings people onto the farm. They can get their hands dirty, they can help with the harvest, and really get to learn what it takes to run an organic farm.
The CSA programs are open to all. You don't have to live in the community in order to be a part of the CSA. The CSA is organized so that people buy their shares earlier in the year and then pick up their shares during the harvest season. There are 875 shares offered over the course of the year. The programs offer fruit, vegetables, herbs, and flowers. We also bring in and complement what we can grow with eggs and mushrooms, meat, dairy, and many other products. We always engage with local vendors, and by local I mean in the New England area. If we can get it in Massachusetts, we will. If we can't, then we might go to Vermont or New Hampshire or Connecticut. What I am also very proud of is this farm's commitment since the beginning to give food to those in need. We do that in a few ways. We have partners. What they do is they distribute the produce that we grow here to people in need. They have established distribution networks, and therefore it's very effective. Last year, we donated 10,000 pounds of vegetables and fruit. You know, most importantly, we welcome everyone to enjoy the farm. They can visit from morning till dusk. They can walk around the farm on the paths, We have 2 annual events, a concert, which happens later this month, and a harvest festival, which happens in early October. We have a workshop. We'll offer people a bird's eye view how to use the vegetables that come here, whether through their CSA or not, and do it with minimized waste.
I can still remember the first few years of LexFarm's existence when we were writing all of our price tags by hand. Our learning gardens shade protection was just a simple awning, and most of the work that was being done on the farm was being done by volunteers. And now I can look and see 11 years later what an amazing staff we have that's able to not just grow in the summer, which is where we started, but now grow year-round. And we now teach almost every month of the year, but also breadth and depth and variety of experiences that we can offer people on the farm. It's really incredible. And not only am I proud of what we've done, I'm really excited about some of the prospects of what we are going to do in the future.
Now, if you'd like to learn more or get involved, we recommend you visit their website at lexfarm.org. A few weeks ago, the Munroe Center for the Arts held an event called Create the Vote. It was presented by Richleen Cadet, Director of Organizing at Mass Creative. Create the Vote is an advocacy campaign designed to elevate arts and culture during election seasons. We talked to Richleen after the presentation to learn a little more about Mass Creative and Create the Vote.
Create the Vote is an effort that we started in 2013 during the Boston mayoral election. We started noticing that like every election year, there is so many different issues that are on the rise that candidates focus on, but oftentimes our sector don't quite get the same attention and love that we deserve. So we thought as an organization who do the advocacy work, how can we start building those relationships with elected officials at the root, which is when there are candidates who are running for office. So Create the Vote is the opportunity to do so. We just try to build those relationships at an early stage through Create the Vote for the candidates to get to know us, our work, and to know their communities and the issues that the community cares about that are art related before they can become elected officials. Beautiful part about what Mass Creative has been able to do through Create the Vote is that we are building a very strong network for the districts that we organize in. Like, we don't come into the district and we tell community leaders like what to do. We come in, we listen, we see where the strengths are, we see where the opportunity for growth are, and then we offer the resources that we have. I always want to know, like, after a presentation how a group is feeling, and I can talk about the upcoming election and talk about how, you know, you have to vote because of X, Y, and Z, but you're the only person that knows why you need to vote, right? So at the end of every presentation, I do this activity called election anxiety, and I have everybody write down on a sticky note a few reasons why they feel like they will not go to the poll this year, right? You can write down 3, you could write down as many as you like, and you write it down, and then you crumble it up. And then another part of the sticky note, you write a few reasons why you will be going to the poll. So at the end of every presentation, I take those anxious little things that tells you that you're not gonna go to the poll, I take those with me. And I'm taking those reasons to the poll with me, and I leave you with the reasons why you say that you are going to be going to the poll, because every election year matters, and you need to remind yourself why it matters.
Speaking of local artists, singer-songwriter and Lexington High School graduate Maya Salafia has written a song specifically for the Something Is Being Done monument that was unveiled last May. Here at LexMedia, we had the privilege of recording the song and making a music video for it. Maya discussed her collaboration with LexCeasefire and where she got the inspiration for the song. And you'll even get a sneak peek of the upcoming music video.
So I perform out a lot, and my mom is always, taking videos of me, posting me on her Facebook. And then I guess Cheryl saw them, who is part of LexCeasefire, and was like, we're doing this awesome new project for the monument they're building in Lexington. And she asked my mom, would Maya want to be a part of this and maybe write a song? And my mom told me about it, and I was like, yes, of course. I think the monument is just so cool, and it's so awesome to remember, you know, these kinds of women in history. You see a lot of monuments, you know, showing a lot of, you know, male figures, which is cool, but you don't get to see too many women, which is amazing that there are so many in this monument. Preparing to write this song, I listened to a bunch of different, you know, female empowerment songs. I'm a big fan of those kinds of songs, especially, you know, getting ready and getting ready to take on the day, I guess. And then Cheryl also told me a lot about some of the women that the monument was focusing on, like Margaret Tulip has a really amazing story about how she fought for her freedom, so I was just kind of channeling that. And then I was just looking to a lot of women around me too, and how they inspire me every day and are so inspirational to the rest of our community. Everyone has been super supportive about the song. They're saying, you know, that it's really cool, and I'm just so proud that it's been able to touch people like that and feel like it's a feel-good song, and I'm glad that other people feel good to it as well. It's really cool how diverse the representation of women is in this monument. You know, the first woman represented is an Indigenous woman, and then it goes all the way up to contemporary women, and there are actually 22 different women represented in this monument. You know, a bunch of different ages and different occupations, and it's just so cool how it encompasses so many different kinds of women throughout history.
Now, we can't play the song for you just yet, but please be sure to stay on the lookout for its own unveiling. Lastly, we leave you with a little snippet from our Summer Kids movie making class. Every year, LexMedia hosts eager young filmmakers who learn how to write, shoot, edit, and act in their own movie. This year, we adapted a screenplay from the Goosebumps book, Night of the Living Dummy. If you'd like to watch the whole movie, it's on our YouTube now at LexMedia TV. For all of us here at LexMedia, I'm Rick Dorrington. Thank you for watching. Now, here's the movie preview.
Hey, what's that?
It's a dumpster, genius. Ever seen one? It's where you belong.
No, that. Dolls are for babies. This is so stupid.
Well, I think he's pretty cool. I'm taking him home. He'll love your bed.
Luca!
That's right. We already booked his next gig. Mr. Brown's retirement party. I'm Luke's manager now. I earn 5%, no big deal.
Let's hope the old bag makes it so we can secure our bag.
Good one.
You're just jealous you don't have your own doll.
Well, actually...
Ah! Oh my god, are we like not poor anymore?
Let's just say some springs fell off the back of the truck.
This isn't fair.
Oh my god. My comics! Look what Luke did!
I swear it wasn't me.
Well then, who was it?
Him, I bet.
Mr. Wood, really, Luke?
Here's a riddle. What did the albino and Dracula say to each other when they met Mr. Buttersworth?
No. No.